Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so in the following manner, joining the Zoom meeting at the link in the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. If we are unable to do so for reasons of economic hardship and despite best efforts, we will post on the Westborough Public Library website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay. I had a lot of people join all of a sudden. Excellent. Any members of the public here who wish to speak?
I think so.
Not seeing or hearing anyone, so that was quick and easy. Approval of minutes. Do we have minutes to approve?
Yes, we have minutes
Okay.
from.
Move to accept.
So
Yeah,
before
I'll
when
second. I can second that.
Okay. Did someone say before we?
when I tried this before, I actually could see that I was on the Zoom. Can you see me or just hear me?
We
I can
just hear
right
you.
now. Yeah, you
Okay,
don't have your
all right.
video on, but we can.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that from my phone. Before it did it automatically when I did a trial. That's okay. I'm here.
Yep, we can hear you. Okay, so let me go through. How many sets of? Hey, Walter.
There were 3 sets of minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna have to abstain because I couldn't get into the link, so
Okay.
it's not letting
I
me.
actually was distracted from reading. Do we have a reasonable number of people who actually looked at them and are prepared to vote?
Yes.
I'm not.
Okay, I see several here. So I'm just going to go down the list then. Lynn,
Sukup, yes.
myself is abstained. Bill,
Ledane, yes.
Al,
Gordon, yes.
Maureen,
Mm.
Maureen.
If you need me, I'll say yes, despite having not read them. I trust
we
what
have a
Mary
quorum.
does.
I don't know what the rules are. Maureen, I seem to be frozen. I'm going to jump over to Sean.
Yes.
Let's see, Walter,
Leslie abstain.
and we have Lee.
Yes.
Okay, Maureen is still frozen. Okay, so we're not going to get it.
No, Maureen's not frozen now.
Okay,
There we
Maureen,
go.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry about that. That was my internet. Amy, yes.
Okay, so we have a unanimous 4. I think I don't know the rules for approving minutes, but I think that's and here's Pete
That's-
Dunbat. Pete, we just had a vote to approve the last 3 sets of minutes. Several of us abstained because we hadn't read them yet. I'm wondering if you prepared to.
I'm in that category.
Okay. Okay. So, but I think we have approval on them in any case because it was unanimously 4 among the voters. Okay. Next item up is library move and an update on the RFP and contract for library relocation. Let's see. Do we have Mike? Can you speak to that? Or Brian is here. I'm sorry.
Brian.
I'm on as well, Ed, and Mike can speak a little bit to this. First, congrats to everybody. It was a great Saturday. Not often do you get a standing ovation after a vote that town meetings that we go to. So that was really cool. So congrats to everybody. From a temporary relocation standpoint, we have our transition meeting tomorrow. We are asking our recommended mover, Wakefield Movers, to attend said meeting. It will be a question that we want to ask this committee, ultimately, Ed, before you leave, the process in which that we want to go through in order to issue a purchase order to these vendors. This will be the first of many from an owner's perspective that we will need to engage with. We will need a commissioning agent, a testing agent, furniture purchases, things like that, that ultimately we'll need a purchase order for. But we are getting the ball started. We've told them that we've recommended Wakefield to the committee, and that we want to get started. So they'll be attending that with us so that we can hammer out our schedules and have an understanding of what their resources are, and have some FaceTime with Kate and her staff so that we can make this as seamless as possible as we get closer to the move-in date. From a temporary location standpoint, we've had multiple meetings regarding this. We've been working with Andy Bowling, who's been great to work with, helping us with some of the temporary measures that are going to need to be in place. He had some contact with some plumbers regarding the fixtures we have in the bathrooms, as well as we've met with building and fire departments as for the necessary testing that's going to be needed for that. We've had some of the preliminary testing done. Some of it had not been completed. We're in the process of having those tests completed. We've also have a quote from Johnson Controls, who is the town's maintenance department, who does the servicing for the fire alarms in the municipal buildings. They provided a quote for replacement of the entire fire alarm system at that building. And it will be over my head to make that decision on whether or not that is something that the project would like to bear. We currently have a fire alarm system that is antiquated yet working. And we have a fire suppression system that is currently, we'll say, working, but still needs further testing in order to get approval from the building and fire department. There's some miscellaneous tests that also need to be done from a life safety and egress perspective that we will be getting done. But we're fairly confident that we'll be able to achieve our occupancy and all the tests required and to satisfy building and fire well ahead of the move-in date to achieve occupancy of that building. So, Ed, we received that quote just recently from Johnson Controls. It's very substantial. And with a project, with the potential project coming down the road for this property already, that will already have to have a new fire alarm system put in, it's my feel that it may be the building committee to maybe ask town management about how they want to handle spending of that money for this fire alarm system.
If I recall correctly, it was about 225,000.
Yes.
Well, Sean and Walter, speaking of town management, is that something you would recommend we, the building committee, go ahead and do now, or sort of keep going with Band-Aid fixes and leave it for a future remodeling of the building?
And the other point I just wanted to bring up is that any new project, if it is to be the senior center on that first floor, it's my opinion or my assumption that they're going to gut that entire space in order for outfit of what's going to be happening. And so it will probably be work or redundant work that would need to be happening when that project starts. Even if we put a brand new system in, there may need to be some modifications based upon the layout of how they're going to lay that building out.
Okay, so I guess that was my question. Is this potentially throwaway work, and it potentially some portion of it is?
I believe that some of it may be. Obviously, a brand new panel could possibly be reused, and we would need to coordinate that with the senior center project team and their designers to make sure that it's not included as part of that. But they would also need to be including that into all of their plans and specs about the existing condition of their building before their construction project started. But as we were told at a previous 2 weeks ago, we met on site with the building and the fire department, and the fire department said, it's currently working. If we need to add to it or we need to modify it, we're going to be in some problems. However, we do not need to modify it as it currently sits right now, but it is an old antiquated system.
Okay, I think if there's an opportunity for this project to not do something, especially if it's potentially not a permanent change, that we probably ought to try to avoid that. And it's funny, I think, as I know how that Kate has said this the last couple of times, like there's no fire suppression currently in the library. So I guess if the community center has a partial fire suppression system, it's a temporary upgrade over what we hope to have in the future.
Something better than nothing.
Will now, right? We will.
We will
start saying, yeah. But let's be another conversation with town departments. Let me reach out to a couple folks quickly this week so we can get an understanding, right? So
Thank
we
you.
can say, if this isn't going to be permanent, then can we come to agreement that as to what it absolutely is necessary? Okay.
That's great.
Brian, I'm not
Right.
sure I was copied on, LPA was copied on that quote. Would you mind forwarding it along my
Absolutely.
direction if you didn't?
And I just wanted to add too, with Christina, they've been great with their consultant as well, who's actually helping satisfy what are the gaps and the holes here that are going to be required by building and fire. At that meeting, Johnson Controls was there, and that's where that quote generated from, was the opinion and the understanding of what the system currently is and what needs to be done. I don't think him providing a quote is for naught, because it could be something that could be used later in the future, but not part of the library building committee or the library building project.
Bill, you got your hand up?
Yeah, included in the discussion should be, Brian, how much money that we have in our estimate. And I haven't seen the quote, but I would think it's not enough to cover a full system. And like you say, the ultimate user of that building is beyond us. We're a temporary, so when we talk to the town, make sure we get that across. Thank you.
Walter?
Yeah, I was gonna ask what the budget, what was the placeholder amount that we had put in for this?
So what we had,
370,
Walter,
375.
if you remember, we originally had the $600,000 for the leasing that we were gonna have at the original place. We cut that in half to about 330,000. I was not anticipating having to replace the entire fire alarm system in the building, which would take up a majority of that budgeted line item. What a lot of that money that was set aside for was things like plumbing upgrades, and then the testing that is being currently coordinated, which is called interior pipe inspections of the actual sprinkler piping throughout the building, which we found, and Christina, you can back me up, I don't believe has been done. It's supposed to be done every 5 years or so, and there's been no record of how that testing has been done. So
I'd agree. And I was actually going to follow up with a question, because I thought they were JCI was authorized to do that test. And I don't think that anybody has seen either the results or if that actually did take place.
not yet. We're tracking that down.
And so given the fact that, like in the 5-year inspection there's no record of it happening in the last, say, 20 years since the building was open. So there could be issues within the pipes that we can't see. So there's another factor there, is that we just don't know the degree to which any piping needs to be replaced at this point. So I think that we should reserve the decision on the fire alarm until we have the information on the internal pipe inspection. But it sounds like that's going to be what happens naturally anyway.
So you're saying this comes out of the 337,000. There was no separate line for the firebox itself.
The firebox itself, no.
Okay. And then my only comment would be then, I think Sean has the right approach. I think there should be one more conversation with the town managers and town manager and the departments to, if nothing else, let them know what we're doing and solicit their opinion on this as well.
Great.
Yeah, the other thing, Brian, I saw in the meeting notes for the transfer of the building there, that there may be requirement to replace the toilet fixtures, etc. So sounds like that should be included in this discussion too. Is that all ours, or is that?
100%. That would be part of what we had budgeted. We had spoke with Andy, who does have kind of we'll call him a plumbing house doctor that facilities and that facilities uses on other municipal buildings, and we're working our way through that. We do know that some of the fixtures that are in the men's restroom are functioning but not desirable and need some work. And so whether that's some minor plumbing work or full replacement of some of the fixtures or removal of some of the fixtures, we're prepared to take care of those kind of stop gaps for the year that they're occupying the building.
Just one point, I saw that note about the plumbing, and apparently the sort of house doctor guy isn't available till July, so that timing's not gonna work for us.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've already I'm gonna reach out to Andy and see what our other options are, and if we need to use
We have,
okay.
the library has a plumber, and we're in the middle of getting in contact with him to see if A, he's interested in the work, and B, if he can get it done before mid-May. That's pretty much the time frame I was going to put out
Perfect.
there. If he
Perfect.
is, then we can have him go over to the site in the next couple of days and take a look at the work and give us an estimate.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Pete, your hand's up.
Just want you to be aware, I play pickleball at the community center, and the water fountains have been determined to be unsafe drinking water. So there is some issues with the water that are known issues. Just making sure you're aware of those.
I am now. I wasn't aware of the drinking fountains upstairs, so okay, thank you.
Lynn,
Oh.
you had your hand up for maybe something
Yeah,
else?
it was just about the plumbing,
Okay.
the plumbing issue.
So
I
Brian,
want
when
to-
you, sorry to interrupt, Brian, when you do follow up with Andy, maybe you could just ask him to ask one more time regarding the internal pipe inspection.
Yeah,
as to whether or
Mike
not that-
Mike and I spoke about this last week, and I didn't hear anything back from Andy on it, so I'll follow up with him again on that.
Fantastic, thank you.
Would it be appropriate at some point fairly soon to ask our fire safety consultants to sit down with the senior center's architects or their design team and just establish at a technical level whether there's any common ground or any redundancies and so on?
Yeah, what we can is we can ask BH+A what their intention was from a Division 21 perspective, fire alarm as well as fire suppression. And if it's full replacement and brand new, which I assume that it is,
It's
that's
actually,
good. It's good
Yeah.
information to bring.
so they're reusing some of the existing piping and everything. So
Right.
actually, I think that there's pieces of it that is being reused, but I do think there's a fully new fire alarm.
Yep.
And I did send those specifications over to JCI. So that's why I wanted to kind of take a look at the quote to see if they were aligning with the specs, to see if they were actually providing the specified fire alarm panel or not. So
Okay.
we have a little bit of that information, and once we kind of can compare, I think that we could then have that conversation as you suggested, Ed, in terms of what is going to be reusable for the community center.
I'll say it sounds like we're on track to open, have things ready in mid-May and open in early June. So that's great.
And
Yeah.
Brian, I can work with you on getting the purchase order.
Excellent.
If you
That'd
want
be
to send me over some starting documents, or we can talk offline and figure out.
No, that'd be great. I think we'll touch base with you after our transition meeting when we meet with
Okay.
if he needs to generate an actual proposal. I mean, they sent in a proposal based on our RFP. It may be helpful to have our meeting generate what's going to be their actual proposal that will be the impetus for the purchase order. We'll get that to you right after that.
Okay.
Any other comments on the move or the temporary space? Okay, so I'm going to move on to other building related issues, and I realize we left a key point off the agenda, which is getting started on the actual construction contracts.
I can
so I
speak to
assume
that
that
one
this
as
is-
well, Ed. So from a town's perspective, you've got three main players that are going to need contracts or contract amendments. I could speak for Vertex that we finalized our proposal for amendment. And I looked back at our previous amendment that was for the design work, in which we've provided a scope of services, a schedule, a fee-based schedule. And then on the cover page, there was an amendment that was generated by Schaub previously from the procurement, which had signatures for her and Mary Johnston and the finance director at the time. I think two of the three have now changed hands. And so Lynn, maybe that I can touch base with you just about how that should be presented from an amendment standpoint on being signed, from using the existing contract that we had
Right.
and building the amendment based upon that with everything that backs it up.
I will talk to John tomorrow and find
Great.
out what we need to do
Excellent. And then the same would go for LPA.
for
whereas
LPA too.
They have the contract that has all of their scope of services under it. They just would need the amendment with their scope of work as well as their exclusions as part of their original contract that would need to be signed with that.
Okay.
The big elephant is the contract with Seaver Construction, in which we've notified them that they were the low bid, that we needed town meeting approval. We reached out to him right after town meeting. He was excited, said thank you. He was out for the next couple days. But at this point, the contract and the supplementary general conditions were part of the bid documents, so it should be ready for execution. My plan is to reach out to them and get their contract, their insurance, all of associated bonds that come with that. And then Lynn, if that needs to be looked at by town council again, we can do so. He was the one that did a full review of it before it went out to bid, so I don't anticipate any issues. And then we'll need the signatures from the town at that point. And then at that point, we can issue a notice to proceed, which is going to be a little unique from other projects, as this notice to proceed is not for construction. It's for executing the contract and getting them going from an administrative standpoint. We'll be able to have some kickoff meetings and submittal meetings and schedule meetings, getting a lot of the paperwork in place. But the notice to proceed is going to be a little bit of a two-step, where they'll be getting another notice to proceed for actually mobilization onto the site once we move out of the facility.
Brian, can you send me an email that just bullet points those things?
Yes.
I want to make sure that I
And that's
have.
my understanding of it.
Okay.
And if
Yeah, no.
something's different from the town, then we can adjust and pivot accordingly. So.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments on that? So the next one is decision on the new committee chair. As I think you all know, I'm heading off on the Appalachian Trail tomorrow. And so we've asked the committee to choose a new chair. Bob and Bill suggested a sort of co-chair arrangement, and Maureen Amiot has also volunteered to be president, to take on the role of chair. So I think we need a motion for one way or the other, and any discussion we want to have about that.
Ed? I make a motion that Maureen be the chair and that Bob be the assistant chair.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's go down the list. Lynn?
Sukup, yes.
Bill?
Lenine, yes.
Al?
Gordon, yes.
Maureen?
Amiot, yes.
Sean?
EO, yes.
Let's see, Walter?
Leslie, yes.
Pete?
John Beck, yes.
Kate?
Caraccio, yes.
And myself is also a yes. Maureen, congratulations on becoming the chair. As I said, I think on my first day as chair, first meeting as chair, that being a chair means that if you start screwing up, people can sit on you. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, thank you, Ed, for your hard work on the committee over the years. It's been great.
You're welcome. I'm actually looking forward to coming back once I get back off the trail, but just to be part of the committee.
I'd also like to confirm that Bob is willing to serve as the vice chair, because he was not here to.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I have seen emails and had a discussion with him where I believe he is willing.
Okay.
And I've had a discussion with him also. He's willing to do it.
Well, he was already vice chair, right? So
Yeah.
Yes,
we
he's been
didn't
vice chair
technically
for
have to re-elect
years,
him.
so. Yeah, reconfirmed
So Ed, did you say you're leaving tomorrow?
tomorrow. Yes.
Wow. So if everything went well,
I'll
When would
be
you be
back.
home?
I'll
In
be back on
September?
April. Yeah, I really don't know. Okay, I have family business in early May, so I'll be back for about 3 weeks in early May.
Ah.
And then back on the trail, and then it just depends on how fast we walk.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I saw you booked as a Civic Club guest in early May, and I was
That's
wondering about that.
one of the minor items of family business.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be
Okay.
speaking to the Civic Club. at
So
that
you're
point.
still coming. Okay.
Still coming. Yeah.
Make sure-
Brian,
Make sure we get a blister report.
hopefully you won't get any blister reports, or maybe it'll just be Julie. She's more blister prone than I am. So, yeah, I will say we're setting up a Facebook page. If you want me to put you on the page, send me an email, and we'll see whatever photos we get organized enough to take. So, I am going to two things. First off, Maureen, you're now the chair. Do you want to take over?
I'm going to let you finish up this meeting, Ed.
Okay. Go ahead, Brian.
I just had a quick thing, and this I believe would be for our next LBC meeting. We'll have hopefully our contracts in place and we're considered actually in construction or construction administration. And I'd like for us to work with probably Maureen and understanding the LBC as a whole, what their authority is and what is going to be the requirements of these LBC meetings of us. What we'll be planning on doing is providing our monthly reports as well as schedule reports, giving general updates to the entire building committee. But there's also going to need a process from a construction team perspective on any changes that come through and financial charge of this committee and whether or not what we recommend for any changes, deducts, credits, anything at that point that we're recommending. I just want to know what the process is so that I can set expectations with the construction team. If there's members that are designated that we can work with, or if there are thresholds under certain dollar values that we can work with, all of which I've experience with most of it. I just want to make sure that we're abiding by what the committee wants and ultimately what the select board wants too when it comes to anything from a financial and contract standpoint.
I'm going to jump in before I go to Walter and Bill. I sort of purposely skipped over your question early on about the PO process, figuring that we'd wait until Maureen was elected or not. And then she's gone through, I think, a couple of procurement courses from the state. So she'll have an informed opinion on what we need to do there.
Okay.
Okay. Walter.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if Al Gordon has any insight on some of this too, because he's been the chair of the municipal building committee that built the building, so he might have some advice for us on this.
Right. I know whenever we've needed a purchase order, the administrative assistant goes to the town. I don't know whether it's through the exactly whose office, but she supplies that and then she brings it forward to us. And then I, as chairman, have to sign off on any purchase order after it's approved.
Bill.
Yeah, Maureen, when the meeting with Brian that he just referred to, I'd like to attend if you're in agreement.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I will say, Brian, that the motion authorizing the expense puts it under the authority of the building committee.
Great.
So.
Yeah, we've had experience with getting to this point and realizing that the committee is only an advisory to a larger body and therefore creates another step or a hoop that may drag out certain approvals or certain, financial decisions that need to be made. So that's great news.
So I just make sure I understood what you just said. So the contingencies and stuff and decisions on disbursement or allocation of the contingency for certain project activities is the responsibility of this committee?
My understanding of the motion.
Okay.
And so Pete, just to give a quick general what my process is, we'll have weekly meetings with the contractor and with the architect. And on a weekly basis, we're checking in on any potential changes that are coming through. Once something is submitted, it'll be vetted by LPA and us, and there'll probably be back and forth between several iterations of said potential change order. And if it's not priority or urgent, that's a different scenario, but we would wait to the next building committee, present our potential change order log with recommended changes for this project. Let the committee debate and deliberate and ask questions about that, vote to make that change, and then we would compile that into one, we'll call it change order number 1. And then that would be an amendment to the purchase order for Seaver Construction. And then they'd be able to requisition against that the following month.
Okay.
Anything else on the new committee chair and or the PO process? Last item we have is removal of bookcases in the front rooms of the library. So the question there is the front room on the right as you walk in the door. There's a set of bookcases around the right and front wall that are built in. As I understand it, the library staff was planning to remove those to make room for access to more shelves and stacks, and that plan did not make it. That decision did not make it into the architect's drawings. So the bid package has refinishing the existing shelves. So that's a potential change order if we decide to take those shelves out. Kate has already spoken that it's important to have those to get more space and more stack access. And I think I've said that they look they're kind of cool historic shelves, and I like the look of them. So those are, I think, are the two perspectives on doing this. But one way or another, it's gonna if we change it, it has to be a change order.
Is this are they to be reused or just removed?
No, just removed.
I'm wondering if I can shoe this into the mover and say this is part of the scope is to get this out of here, and we'll discuss that with them tomorrow about any built-in items that are not actual collection and stacks that are being brought over to the temporary location, but whether they can provide services for stuff that is built in that maybe needs to go from a permanent standpoint and be thrown away. It's just a thought. Maybe it might be cheaper to go through one of our vendors that's already under contract.
Can they remove it without damaging the plaster walls behind?
That's another great question. So it may not be the best to go with a mover to do that. So
Yeah, I think we wanted to do some investigative demolition, I think was the phrase. So remove carefully to find out exactly what's behind there.
We can have Cliff do that.
Maybe that's a good idea. To be careful with it. So if there is wainscot behind there, that could be kept, or if there's plaster behind there that can be kept, we would want to continue that and just adjust the scope to refinish the wainscot, the wood that's behind there, if that's possible, rather than having to do like a whole lot of plaster work. So I think we just want to be careful with removing, and then we can issue a change for the scope for now. Instead of refinishing these shelves, we'd like you to refinish the wainscot or something like that, or add new wainscot.
the more I hear, the more I think a mover is not the best route there. So
yeah, if you feel like Cliff could do it carefully enough, that would probably be less expensive than directing.
Yeah, I think it is
to the demolition, because it would be the demolition crew that would have potentially been assigned to remove them, and who knows how we'd have to ask them to be careful. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So if you feel like it's better for Cliff to just take a look, take some pictures of what's behind there. We tried to look the other day when we were there on site, and it was a little bit difficult to find out if that wood backing was attached to the shelf itself, or if it was attached to the wall.
Right, exactly. We'll have Cliff do a test site, and
sounds good.
We'll report back.
Okay, sounds good.
I have one thing I just want to say. Oh, Al, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if Cliff does the work, then he can probably work with the town's maintenance department, and we can get rid of that with their pickup truck out of the transfer station. There'd be no cost to the town.
Great.
Anything else? I just want to say thank you all for being on the team for the past several years. It's been, as a lot of you know, quite a long journey, and it's been a great pleasure for me to work with everybody, with a few stressful times in there too. But still, now that we got the vote, I walked away from that meeting a happy camper, and I think I'll be on the Appalachian Trail still being a happy camper. So thank you all, and I will be planning to reattend the building committee meetings just as a member once I get back.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Held that to my knees. Walter.
We should probably establish our next meeting before we
That's a key point. Yep.
depart.
Um,
Probably every 2 weeks for a while.
I think so. Is 2 weeks appropriate, Brian and Christina?
April
that's fine.
9th. So April 9th will be the next meeting.
April
Did we want
8th.
to, yeah, flip
Oh,
back to
April
Tuesday?
8th. Sorry about that. Yeah, April 8th.
Next meeting, 3:30 p.m., April 8th. And then Maureen will be chairing that one.
Does that
Well,
work for you, Brian? in
Yes,
terms
and
of
Lynn,
timing?
do you put the agenda together? I might just make sure before it gets posted, just to make sure there's a couple things
Okay.
from a construction standpoint. If there's anything that comes up that needs to go on it, I'll let you know.
All right, she needs to know by the previous Friday. We
Yep.
have to post 48 hours in advance.
Yep.
Yeah, Thursday's better just because we usually try to post first thing Friday. So if you
Yeah,
could just let us
it's-
know, we'll add whatever.
Yeah, the clerk's office is closed at noon on Friday, so you really got to do it Thursday afternoon or Friday morning early.
Good point.
Lynn and Kate, I don't see Maureen here. Maybe I'm missing it. but-
She had to go to a doctor's appointment, so
No,
she
that's fine.
bowed
So,
out.
Brian, is there a time when we should have a meeting in person versus continuing to do it this way? Maybe not the next one, but keep it in mind.
Yeah, but my hope is by next meeting in 2 weeks, we have scheduled our first kickoff meeting with the contractor, which I'm going to require to be in person. I'd be in touch with possibly Kate or Lynn, or maybe even Town Hall about providing a conference room just so that we can get some FaceTime with the contractor and go over some of the requirements that are needed. Next meeting from a building committee might not be necessary to be in person. But at that point, hopefully we have a scheduled architect, owner, contractor schedule, and we can identify any members of this committee that want to attend those on a weekly basis.
Thank you.
Anything else? Go ahead, Mike. What was
Yeah,
that?
thank you. I'm just an observer here, but I thought it might be before we finish up, it might be useful to share a few observations that I have that are not accessible to you folks otherwise. I live in a community at Chauncey Lake that has a lot of internal communications capability, not necessarily always well used, but it's there. And the post-mortem, when after town meeting, just a couple of key features. It turns out that the visibility that you folks made available to all the town was hugely appreciated, and one can only hope that the other committees, when they have special issues to address, do so in the same manner that you did. The presentations were a hit, and if you don't believe me, believe the 90% of the vote that you got on this, particularly view that in context. I thought it would be useful just to let you know the one concern people have, which I've done my best to take care of internally on our end, is they do not at this point have enough visibility to what the continuation of services will be while the whole process is in process. So I think that's something that the library trustees can work on. I think everybody just did a dandy job. This is, we had a 10x attendance from our small subset of the community, and an almost equal increase in attendance, I think, from a number of other parts of the community. So you did it. It's nice to work with winners. Thank you. That's it. I'm done.
I'm not sure if people know, but Mike is one of the library trustees, and he's organized several of our information meetings over at Del Webb in Lake Chauncey. So thank you, Mike. Thanks for the good work. Anything else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I got. Oh, sorry, my hand went back down. I'll put it back up just so I can take it down. Yeah, I've been tossing this thought around, so I just kind of toss it out so people can think about for next time. But whether there was a sensibility to having a subcommittee of some sort that's more available during the day, I'm thinking of, and so that could work with the construction people, almost paying more attention to real-time things. Bill Linane or some of the other people with construction experience, and others who would want to be involved in that, because if we're only going to meet every 2 weeks or whatever, it may make sense to have some form of vetting going on by a smaller group on a more regular basis. And anyway, it's just a thought I had because I do a lot of project management at work here, and it's our responsibility to be responsive to our owner's project manager and kind of a good time and get up to speed. So I'm really kind of hoping we can do a really good job with this project, and I think that might be an important aspect of it.
Yeah, I'll accept being on that, assuming that Kate and Lynn will convey the message to Maureen. I'd be glad to be a part of that, and we can talk to Bob in person. I don't want to send him an email or a text and have him try to figure it out, but maybe we have a small meeting. I don't mind being a part of it. In fact, I appreciate it. If Brian is, the other one is Brian, making sure Brian is all right with it.
I think it makes sense if we have timely decisions that need to be made.
See Sean's hand up also. Go ahead.
Sorry, I went dark there for a second. Yeah, I would just say, be careful, right? I think 6 for this group is a quorum. So make sure that it stays to 5 or under. And I know with 2 of you at the library every day, it could be easier to suddenly get over that number. So just reminding people.
Anything else? So I'm going to assume that the question of the subcommittee will be handled at the next meeting, unless people want.
Yeah, I was just throwing it out as a future agenda item, not to solve it today. It was just something I've been thinking about, and I'd like everybody else to think about it. So.
Okay. Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
One last thing is congratulations on the vote to everybody. That was great. And I heard a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Lynn?
Sukup, yes.
Bill?
Linane, yes.
Al?
Gordon, yes.
Sean?
Theo, yes.
Walter?
Leslie, yes.
Kate?
Caraccio, yes.
Myself is a yes. Did I miss anybody? Pete, I did miss somebody. Sorry.
Dunbeck, yes.
Okay, the meeting then is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Like I said, it's been great working with you for the past several years.
Have fun, Ed.
Good luck on the trail.
Happy
safe.
trails, Ed.
Sure.
Be safe, Ed.
Yep, be safe.